I never meant to start a war. When I took that job, I genuinely believed in the whole meritocracy thing. Work hard, show initiative, be a team player, and eventually, the right people would notice. I wasn't naive, just hopeful. The kind of hope you have when you're still fresh enough to believe your boss has your back. Her name was Tessa. She had a desk 2 feet from mine, a voice like fake honey, and a LinkedIn page longer than a CVS receipt. Always empowering others in group chats. Always calling herself a thought leader and workflow architect, which, if you asked me, was code for delegate everything and take the praise. At first, I respected her. She talked fast, moved fast, dressed like she'd walked out of a productivity seminar. I assumed she knew what she was doing. She had the manager title, after all. I was just an analyst trying to prove myself. The first time it happened, it didn't even register. I'd worked all weekend building a client segmentation model. She skimmed it Monday morning, nodded, and then presented it in the team meeting like it was her idea. She didn't even change the color scheme. I remember thinking, weird. But whatever. Maybe it was an oversight. It wasn't. Over the next few months, I started noticing patterns. I'd submit a proposal through our internal ticket system, only to see it later labeled under her name in the department update. I'd get Slack messages like, "Can you take a stab at this deck?" Just a rough draft. And then that same deck would show up in the executive summary, crafted by Tessa. She'd thank me in private, call me a rock star, tell me I was on track for great things. But in meetings? In front of leadership? Radio silence. The worst part was how subtle she was about it. Like she'd mastered the art of plausible deniability. Never overt theft, just a steady siphoning of visibility. My name didn't disappear all at once. It faded like ink in the sun. I tried to speak up. Once. There was this cross-functional summit coming up, big deal, high level, lots of eyes. I'd spent 6 weeks designing the implementation plan. Tessa called me into a quick one-on-one in the hallway and said, "We need someone senior to present it." For optics. I was junior. She was optics. That night, I went home and cried in the shower. Not because of the project, but because it made me feel stupid for caring so much. For trying. For staying late while she left early to connect with mentors over drinks. I stopped crying when I realized something. I wasn't stupid. I was being played. She'd figured out I was valuable. More valuable, maybe, than she could afford to admit. And suddenly, something shifted in me. I didn't want revenge. Not yet. I wanted clarity. Proof. I started tracking things. Quietly. Notebooks, spreadsheets, email threads. Google Docs was my best friend. Every file had my fingerprints. Every timestamp told a story. And I waited. Then came Chicago. A massive presentation for the client we'd spent months wooing. High stakes. High reward. I didn't get invited. Of course not. Tessa was the face. I was the brain. And apparently, you don't need both at the table. She sent me a message the night before her flight. "Can you send over the finalized deck? Just want to do a quick run-through." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I opened a new presentation, copied the first 3 slides from our original, and replaced everything else with a message. This content has been redacted by the actual author. For questions, contact my email address. And I sent it. I didn't warn her. I didn't stay up late second-guessing myself. I turned on my out-of-office reply and logged out. I wasn't even in the building the next day when it happened. But my phone blew up by lunchtime. Apparently, she opened the deck on the big screen. Slide 1 logo. Slide 2 title. Slide 3 agenda. Then, slide 4 silence. Long silence. She tried to click ahead. Same message. Same email. Someone asked if there was a mistake. She said she was troubleshooting a sync error. Another exec asked, "Did you make this deck yourself?" She said yes. That's when he read the footer aloud. Redacted by the actual author. Boom. I don't know what happened next exactly, but I got a message on LinkedIn from a VP who'd been in the room. "Very impressed with your work. Let's talk about your future." My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From release. I sent in my 2-week notice. Didn't even wait for a counteroffer. Used every single PTO hour I had saved up. And on my final day, as I was waiting for the elevator with my little goodbye gift bag, Tessa walked up. "You blindsided me," she said. "That was malicious." I looked her in the eye. "No," I said. "That was a presentation." The elevator doors closed between us, and I swear to God, I have never felt lighter in my life. I work somewhere better now. I get credit. I speak in meetings. I don't stay silent while someone else spins my effort into applause. People ask me if I regret it. No, because the moment you let someone take credit for your voice, you start erasing yourself. I just finally hit undo. I thought leaving would be the end of it. That once I shut the door on Tessa and that toxic company, I could start fresh. I had a new job lined up within 2 weeks, better pay, actual growth potential, and a manager who seemed genuinely supportive. I even got my own office. It should have been perfect. But the thing about people like Tessa, they don't go quietly. 3 weeks into my new role, I got a call from HR. Hi, sorry to bother you. We got a reference call about you from your previous employer. My stomach dropped. From who? They hesitated. A manager named Tessa. She said you left under difficult circumstances. I felt my jaw clench. Apparently, she told them I had issues with authority, refused collaboration, and exhibited erratic behavior when given feedback, which was rich, considering she'd spent the last year taking my ideas and erasing my name. Thankfully, my new HR team had already done their own vetting. They said the call just felt off, like she was trying too hard to be subtle, and clearly biased. But it didn't end there. A week later, a former coworker slid into my DMs. Hey, not sure if you've seen this, but Tessa's been telling people you plagiarized her work. She's saying you locked the deck because you were scared of being found out. I laughed at first. It was desperate, sad. But then I started thinking, what if people believed her? What if the story that stuck wasn't the truth, but the louder version? I had proof, of course. File logs, email trails. But that didn't matter in whispers. And Tessa was good at whispers. Still, I ignored it. I was in a new place. A better place. Until my new boss forwarded me an email. Thought you'd want to see this, the message read. Attached was a long, formal-sounding note from Tessa, addressed to someone on our executive team. It detailed concerning behavior she thought they should be aware of, phrased carefully enough to sound objective, but layered with just enough implication to raise eyebrows. I was livid. She couldn't take the hit, so she was trying to rewrite the story after the fact. That's when I decided to stop playing defense. I wrote a full account of what happened. Dates, documents, screenshots. I didn't just show receipts. I made a damn invoice. I compiled everything into a Google Drive folder, wrote a calm, professional explanation, and shared it with my boss and HR. Not out of spite, out of necessity. Because if she wanted to keep playing the optics game, fine. But I was going to make sure anyone looking had access to the truth. And then something unexpected happened. I started getting emails from people I used to work with, people who'd watched from the sidelines but never said anything. One by one, they started sharing their own stories. How Tessa had thrown them under the bus in meetings. How she'd taken credit for brainstorming sessions, passed off junior analysts' work as her own, and then scolded them for overstepping. One guy said she got him put on a performance plan because he corrected her in a meeting. Another girl said Tessa scheduled a one just to tell her that smiling too much makes you look insecure. It was like pulling a thread and watching a whole web unravel. Eventually, I compiled those stories too. Anonymized, cleaned up, all fact-checked. I added them to the folder. Then I did something bold. I posted the link on LinkedIn. Not with names, not with drama, just a single sentence. If you've ever had credit taken from you, read this. If you've ever taken credit that wasn't yours, maybe skip it. The post went viral. I got hundreds of messages. Some angry, some grateful, some confessing they'd done the same thing to others and never thought twice. I didn't name Tessa. I didn't have to. Anyone who knew knew. A week later, a recruiter from a Fortune 100 company messaged me. We loved your clarity and courage. Are you open to leadership opportunities? I said yes. That's how I landed my current role. Director. My own team. My own voice. But even now, every once in a while, I get the odd anonymous comment or passive-aggressive message. The remnants of her reach. Doesn't matter. Because here's the thing Tessa never understood. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. And some people mistake a quiet room for a closed case. Until the lights come on. And everyone sees who is really doing the work. 6 months after my LinkedIn post went viral, I got an invitation I didn't expect. A panel. Some mid-sized consulting firm was hosting a virtual roundtable about ethics and leadership, credit, collaboration, and culture, and they wanted me as one of the speakers. At first, I laughed. Loudly. The irony of it. Me, a glorified ghostwriter for half my career, now being asked to speak about ethics. But then I thought, why not? I'd earned my credibility the hard way. Maybe if someone had told my story earlier, I wouldn't have spent so long thinking I had to stay quiet to be respected. So I said yes. The event was low-key. Just a Zoom room full of HR folks, middle managers, and a few industry nerds with coffee mugs and notepads. I kept my segment short, told the story without naming names, focused on the system, not the villain. But during Q&A, someone asked a question that stopped me cold. How do you deal with the guilt? I paused. Guilt? The woman nodded. Yeah, you know, when someone else's career tanks because of something you said, even if they deserved it, even if it was true. I didn't answer right away. Because the truth? I had felt guilt, not regret. Not for what I did, but for how easily I could have not done it. For how close I came to just letting it slide again. I thought about how many other Tessas I'd met in my life. Teachers, coaches, friends, always taking the credit, always confident no one would question it. And I thought about how many people like me just sat there, swallowing it, thinking, maybe next time they'll say my name. So I looked into the camera and said, I don't feel guilty. I feel late. That clip ended up trending. People started calling me the Credit Crusader, which I hated but secretly kind of loved. I even got asked to contribute to an article in Fast Company about psychological safety in the workplace. It was surreal. Then, one Thursday afternoon, I got a calendar invite from an email I didn't recognize. Subject, mentorship request, urgent. I almost declined. But something about it, maybe curiosity, maybe some unfinished itch in my brain, made me click, accept. And when the Zoom call loaded, I almost closed it immediately. It was her. Tessa. Different haircut, different background, but same eyes, same too sweet smile, like she was always about to sell you something. Hey, she said. I didn't respond. She looked uncomfortable, not like the confident exec she used to pretend to be, more like someone who'd been through some things and didn't quite know who she was anymore. I wasn't sure you'd show, she said, but I hoped you would. I crossed my arms. What do you want? She exhaled. I'm not working right now. After everything. It got hard to find another leadership role. Word gets around, you know. I didn't say anything. I let her sit in the silence. I've been doing a lot of reflecting, she went on. Therapy. Coaching. I realized I used to lead from fear. Like if I didn't look like the smartest person in the room, I'd lose everything. And you decided to take it out on your team. She nodded. Yeah, I did. For the first time, she actually said it. No excuses. No spin. Then she looked up at me. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I was wondering if maybe you'd talk to me. Help me understand how to rebuild. How to lead right this time. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to end the call right there. The other part, the one that used to stay late building decks for her applause, wondered if maybe this was the justice I'd never thought I'd get. I'll think about it, I said. And I meant it. We ended the call shortly after. I stared at my screen for a long time, unsure what I felt. Power? Closure? Pity? All of it, maybe. Later that night, I opened an old folder on my computer. The one with the receipts, the logs, the history. I didn't need them anymore. I deleted the whole thing. Not for her. For me. Because I realized something in that moment. I'd won. Not by exposing her. Not by going viral. But by building a life where I never had to think about her again unless I chose to. And now? She needed my name on her resume. Funny how things turn around. The last time I saw Tessa was in a webinar. Not in person. Not one-on-one. Just a panel discussion, like the one I'd been invited to months earlier. Only this time, she was one of the speakers. The topic was rebuilding trust in the workplace after leadership mistakes. I didn't sign up to watch it. Someone sent me the link. I hovered over it for a while. Part of me felt like clicking it would be regressing. Like I'd come so far just to reopen a wound that had finally scabbed over. But curiosity won. She looked different. Smaller. Not physically, but less curated. Less performative. She didn't speak with that same breathless certainty she used to carry like armor. Her words were careful, like someone finally learning the weight of what they say. When the host asked her about a professional mistake that changed everything, she didn't flinch. She said, I made a habit of stealing credit. I let fear drive me. And I burned the people who made me look good, thinking that would protect me. It didn't. There was no name. But everyone in the industry who'd been watching over the last year, they knew. And here's the strange part. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt done. Not the bitter kind of done. Not the triumphant. I showed her kind. Just at peace. It made me think about something I'd never said out loud. Something I'd been too ashamed to admit. I wasn't just mad at Tessa back then. I was mad at myself. Mad that I let it go on for so long. Mad that I played along. Mad that I made myself smaller just to fit in her shadow. And maybe, in a twisted way, I needed her apology not to heal from what she did, but from what I let happen to myself. After the panel, I closed the browser tab and didn't save the link. I didn't need to watch it again. A few months later, I was asked to mentor a young analyst on my team. Fresh out of school. Eager. Brilliant. Reminded me too much of myself back when I thought hard work alone would be enough. We were in a feedback session, going over her quarterly goals, when she hesitated. "Can I ask something?" she said. "Of course. If I ever do something worth recognizing, like, actually worth it, will you make sure they know it came from me?" It caught me off guard. Because that wasn't just a question about feedback. That was a question about trust. I smiled and said, "You'll never have to ask me that again." And I meant it. That one promise felt more powerful than any viral post or passive-aggressive jab I'd ever thrown at Tessa. Because it meant I was breaking the cycle. Replacing silence with protection. Fear with advocacy. That's how it should be. People often ask what the moral of my story is. As if something this personal can be boiled down into a tidy quote on a PowerPoint slide. I don't think there's one answer. But here's what I know. If someone builds their reputation on your back, expose it. If you've been erased, speak louder. If you're in the room when someone brilliant gets dismissed, be the one who says their name. And if you're ever lucky enough to lead, make sure your people never wonder if you see them. Let them shine. Let them rise. Let them build their names with pride and never off the ashes of yours. Because legacy doesn't come from how loud you are. It comes from who still respects you when the lights are off, the decks are done, and the applause has faded.